everybody, it is Jackson from Fruit Wine Co. That's right, we are no longer Crunchy Red Fruit. We have merged with a wine shop in Bellevue and we are now Fruit Wine Co. And Crunchy Red Fruit will remain as the name of the club that you get when you subscribe. So Crunchy Red Fruit will remain this core product, but the company is now called Fruit Wine Co. And that enables us to look down the road, have some vision, expand, talk about other fun ideas. So you'll see more of that. We merged with Seattle Wine Co., which is a wine shop here in Bellevue, just a block behind me. We were part of the same little warehouse park, and now we are one company where you can actually come shop, check out the store, shop for some wine, and we're excited to have you. So if you're out of the state and next time you come to Seattle, please come see us, say hi. We'd love to meet you and love to give you some hospitality. This is our next release. This is a release we've entitled Convergence Zone. And these are wines that, like the merging of two companies, represent an idea of convergence in some way or another, and I'll detail that more in the letter that you're going to get. We're starting with a wine from Spain. This is Voladeros, Pedro Jimenez. This comes from Victoria Ordoñez. And Victoria Ordoñez is part of a large winemaking and wine importing family, the Ordoñez family. They make lots of sweet wines, they make lots of really exciting wines from all over Spain and some other places too. But she kind of diverged from her family line of making these kind of classic sweet wines and decided to make dry wines from the Sierras de Malaga. Very, very high mountain vines. These are 1,000 meters above sea level. It's a tiny little vineyard inside of a national park. And these are little bush vines. If you look at pictures of the Sierras de Malaga, you'll see these are like very craggy, uneven mountains and hills inland from the Mediterranean Sea in southern Spain. And wow, this wine is so cool. This wine took 2 years to get here. I picked this wine for the club back in 2021 when I was on a trip to Spain. I was blown away by it and I said, we got to get this here. Everyone's got to taste this. I tasted with Victoria herself and got to learn her philosophy and her hands-off and natural winemaking style. And wow, this wine is cool. Pedro Jimenez is a wine that's almost always made into a sweet wine, or a grape that's made into a sweet wine. And this is a very dry, bracing, but beautifully textured wine that, you know, there's a honey note here that could remind you that maybe this wine is used to make sweet wine, but this is something bracing and mineral and textural about it that doesn't have anything to do with actual sugar in the wine. I would say every wine in this entire release is going to benefit from some time open. This wine I opened a couple hours ago. I'm just tasting it again now, and it's already blossomed and brought forth really new, cool, honeyed and spicy characteristics. So I'm excited for you to try that. It's a very serious white wine, something that we had to spend a little more on, but I think you're gonna love it. Now for something, also small production. I think just a few thousand bottles of the Victoria Ordoñez wine are made. Same thing here, this wine, only 145 cases of this wine are made, and we bought almost 30 of them to go in our club. This is the Vinicola Atacalco. This is the Sémillon, or the Cárabe de Itata Sémillon Moscatel. And the majority, 90% of this wine is Sémillon. They take two white grapes, Sémillon and Muscatel, and ferment them on their skins and on their stems together. So everything goes into this wine, which is why it has this incredible textural, spicy herbal quality, because you're getting grape stem in the fermentation here, not just grapefruit and juice. Wow, this wine is complex and incredible, and it evolves in a really beautiful way if it's open for more than a half hour. So sit this wine out. Don't drink it ice cold. Open it ahead of time, like an hour or so. Decant it. Watch it evolve over the course of an evening. Come back to it. Maybe get to your red wine that you're gonna have with dinner after you've had a sip of this, and then come back to it after your dinner, after your red wine, and watch how it's changed. It's really cool. Super herbaceous, lots of thyme and bay leaf and marjoram, and this really cool core of stony fruit like apricot and pear. And because there is some skin contact here, I think about 4 weeks of skin contact, it's kind of an orange wine. It's got a little bit of that texture, but it's not a fully orange wine. Another co-fermented wine here, this is Espera Palheto. This comes from Portugal, from the region right north of Lisbon called Alcobaça. And this is a field blend of both white and red grapes. And you'll actually find Palheto around Portugal, or you'll find things like Medieval de Urem, which is an old medieval style winemaking where you would grow white and red grapes together in a vineyard. and then you would blend them all together in the vat and ferment them all together. And that's what we have here. You can see from the color that it is pale, it's ruby, it's got some orange tints to it. It's just really pretty, and I think this wine is super cool. Aromatically, it presents more like a red wine and maybe a little bit texturally like a rosé, but it also has this wonderful rosemary and sagebrush and herb de Provence sort of Mediterranean thing going on. Dried flowers, really beautiful pale red fruit like cranberry. It's a very texturally interesting wine. It almost hits up front like a rosé, but then when it lingers on your palate, it does have some tannin, it does have some grip, and it does read at the end like a red wine. So that's really cool stuff from Portugal. And that also was a wine we agreed to bring in about 9 months ago, and it just took this long to kind of get here and be part of the club, so pretty fun. Now Lambrusco. Why do I have sparkling red wine in my glass? Well, the classic style of sparkling red wine that is the one that everyone knows is Lambrusco. And Lambrusco is interesting because it comes from a region that is known for its food, Emilia-Romagna in Italy, in central Italy. And we have things like prosciutto di Parma and aceto balsamico and Parmigiano Reggiano that all come from this region, Emilia-Romagna. There's really not a huge hierarchy of wines in Emilia-Romagna like there is in Piedmont or Tuscany, where you have things like Barolo or Brunello di Montalcino. In Emilia-Romagna, Lambrusco is king because the food in Emilia-Romagna is so good that the wine is there to just kind of be an accompaniment to it. Lambrusco can be made in a huge factory where they literally pull trucks up full of grapes and they ferment them in large tanks and then they put them back into trucks to go be bottled. Or it can be made in tiny co-op farms like La Collina. La Collina is an organic and biodynamically certified farm. In Emilia-Romagna, they rehabilitate troubled teens and drug addicts and have them help out on the farm, raising animals and livestock and a huge polyculture of different types of plants and crops and grapes. And I think this is such a pure and beautiful example of what Lambrusco can be. It doesn't taste manufactured, it doesn't taste overly jammy or purpley, to use a term that I think describes a lot of that garbage Lambrusco that's out there. This smells like taking a fresh bunch of grapes off the vine and crushing them in your hands and then like getting that aromatic quality of the stems and the grapes and the field of flowers in your palate. So it's dry, it's chalky, it's got quite a drying texture to it, and this is a perfect pizza wine. It's a perfect wine to have with classic Italian foods from up and down the peninsula. Things like a local pairing of prosciutto would be great, but also going down to Roman cuisine and doing cacio e pepe would be dynamite with this. And also pizza from anywhere, whether that's New York style or Detroit style or Neapolitan style, would be perfect with Lambrusco. It's one of the classic pizza wines. So this is a wine that we brought in exclusively for Country Red Fruit customers. I tried to buy as much as I could from our good buddy Chris Miller, and this is Adroît Nero de Avola. And Chris Miller is a master sommelier. He's an old friend of mine. He and I both worked at Canlis restaurant at varying times. I was there after he was. He passed his master sommelier super young and went to go be the wine director at Spago in Beverly Hills, and then he decided to become a winemaker after that. And Adroît and Siebold are his wineries, and Adroît is his label where he says, hey, call me up if you got some interesting grapes from a different vineyard source than I'm normally using, and let me make something exciting out of it. So this is Nero d'Avola. It's a grape from Sicily, but he's fermenting it whole cluster and providing this gorgeous aromatic red fruited example of a wine that is normally a big raisiny fruit bomb. And that is not the case here with this Nero d'Avola. It's really elegant and it's really aromatic. There's lots of crushed raspberry and black cherry and like dried violets and floral qualities that I think make this wine so interesting. I know we are at the end of September, we're getting into October, we're starting to have soup and bread fly at us, and we're starting to have lots more meat cooked indoors and vegetables cooked indoors, but if you're able to, I feel like this wine just wants to have something grilled alongside it. I think grilled steak with some grilled zucchini would be absolutely dynamite with this wine, so do with that what you will. finally, we have a wine that represents that idea of convergence in a really interesting way. Washington State is not known for reds that are soft and elegant. It's known for cannons. It's known for big wines that get lots of points and are massive, and Cabernets that are pushing 15-16% alcohol. And those wines are wonderful and they have a market, but I was blown away to taste this Ansel Cabernet. It was unlike anything I've ever tasted from Washington before. It was great acidity. It had great classic Cabernet green character, which I kind of look for when I taste the Cabernet grape. And it's from the place, Walluk Slope, where some of Washington's most expensive and collectible and over-the-top Cabernets come from. And so to taste this wine and to see what they're doing with this, I was really inspired, and I think it's beautiful. Cabernet ought to have a sort of graphite and green and smoky character to it, and this one brings that in spades. And I just love how elegant it is and how pretty it is. Think about this wine. It's 2021 vintage. It's only 2 years old, but it already has this tension and this liveness to it that is actually very hard to find in Cabernet unless you age it for a long time. And this wine is just totally different than what's out there. So that's kind of what we do at Fruit Wine Co. It's what we do with the Crunchy Red Fruit Club, is try to find you something that is unlike anything else you'll find. So I hope you enjoy these wines. I hope you enjoy the convergence of things happening with the wine club and the wine shop becoming one. I hope you come visit us. If you're in Seattle, stop by Bellevue. It's actually easier to get to than our South Park location. We'd love to have you. Again, thank you for being part of this and for following us, and we appreciate it very much. Cheers, everyone.